All right, guys. Our next guest is a UFC and Pride legend. You might know him from a Predators Picks show where he gives you his predictions of what's going to be happening in the world of MMA. He's been in a lot of ads. He's a great actor. Ladies and gentlemen, coming on to Submission Radio, we have the returning Don Frye. Don, welcome to Submission Radio. As always, it's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Yeah, damn right. It's always a pleasure to have me on the show. Nobody better. I'm Don Frye.
Well, we got
Don Frye.
we got scared, Don, because earlier in December we noticed you sending out a big thank you, on your official Facebook page to nurses and doctors. What happened, and why did you end up in hospital?
Oh hell! That time of the month, where you cramp up real bad, and things. You get a little delirious, and you don't know what's going on, and you start arguing with everybody for no reason, I had some bad wiring, but, a few years ago, I tried keeping it under wraps, but apparently my wife told me I'm an idiot, and everybody else in the world knows what I'm doing. May 2010, May 2011, I had 5 back surgeries, and then after that I had number 6, the 10-hour back surgery. They fused 10 vertebrae.
Jesus.
And I've been walking around thinking I fooled everybody, and everybody looks at me like I'm Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame. And,
Yeah.
well, I think I'm prancing around looking healthy. So apparently nobody's fooled, but I got my good days, my bad days, and thank God I got the right wife, and right kids and dogs and horses. They all take care of me.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic news to hear, Don. And just for all the listeners out there listening right now, everything is better. You're feeling a little bit better, and you're going into a fine condition going into the holiday season.
Yeah, I've been worse, but you know what? I've been better, but I've been worse. So I got nothing to complain about. We're having a good time out here. Hold on a second, I lost you. I got the. You there?
Yeah. Can you hear us, Don?
Yeah, I lost you. Sorry about that. And I'm feeding the critters on reacting and shit like that. That's a lack of respect, huh?
What did you say? What about critters?
I'm feeding them while I'm talking to you. Complete lack of respect, huh?
That's fine. The animals got to eat. Well, you're a busy man. You've been doing a lot of acting recently. Tell us, how's it all going in Hollywood, and what can we look forward to seeing you in?
Heck, I'm been having a lot of fun out there in Hollywood. Goofing off. We got Chuck Hank and the San Diego Twins. I did that with Michael Pere. Michael Pere is a great actor. I can't remember the name of the movie. Eddie and the Cruisers. You ever see Eddie and the Cruisers?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it, though.
Oh, you gotta watch it. Michael Frye is a great actor. And you know what? I did Public Enemies with Stephen Lang, and it's a privilege just to be on set with those two guys. And Michael Frye is just like Stephen. He's just on the job training. You just go there and get mesmerized, and you forget your line because you're just you're watching them work, and you're in awe. Somebody's snap you too. I remind you it's your turn to get involved,
Yeah.
Now, Don, we heard you've got a short movie coming out that you're in with Frank Shamrock called Bad Cat. Tell us what is Bad Cat all about, and what's your role in it?
Well, I'm just a corner man. I don't have a big scene in that. It's underground amateur fighting, and the guy is fighting Frank, and I'm just a corner man and giving my words of wisdom and the Don Frye pep talk, which is pull your underwear up, boy, and count your balls and get back in there.
Well,
the
Don Frye pep talk is enough to get us to check it out. You've always been a charismatic guy, Don. Fans really took to you. Going back to the early days in the first UFCs, did you ever consider that you'd become an actor?
No, you know what? When I was knee-high to grasshopper, I always wanted to have a world championship belt, watching Terry Funk, Ric Flair, Bruno Sammartino, and then, I watched, Joe Frazier. He's my favorite, I wasn't old enough for Rocky Marciano. But I remember Joe Frazier. I remember Ali fighting Antonio Inoki. Yeah. And I did Antonio Inoki's retirement match, in front of 75,000 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was 70,000 seat arena at the Tokyo Dome, and they sold 5,000 standing tickets.
Jesus.
And it was a lot of fun. And then then you always want to move into movies because it's like a lot of fun. And so shit, I've done everything, partner. I mean, I was a stunt man. I did acting. I did pro wrestling. I was a world champion at fighting, a few times. I was a fireman. I was a cowboy. I did everything but being a soldier, and that's my one regret, is I wasn't a soldier.
Now, Don, making movies and TV shows is pretty different from fighting. Just wondering, do you miss going through a training camp and preparing for fights? And, what's sort of the big difference that you notice, being an actor and being a fighter? What's sort of the big difference for you there?
Well, they both take a lot of discipline, I remember when I did Godzilla. I did Godzilla Final Wars back in 2004. It was a 50-year anniversary. And before the fight, before the movie, I said, well, I have a fight, so I need to train. Oh, yeah, no problem. You can train during the filming. Well, you get up, 3 or 4 a.m., you drive an hour and a half, and then you go through makeup, and then you wait around, and you say, well, okay, I'm going to work out. No, you can't work out. We did your makeup and your hair. So it turned out it wasn't as true as what I thought, so I ended up going into a fight against a bum, and, couldn't hold my jockstrap. He ends up beating me for no reason other than, I wasn't trained, so I would love to fight that piece of garbage, and even the score,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Don, we want to chat to you about a few other things recently that are happening in the world of MMA. One of the big ones, obviously, the UFC made their first all-women Ultimate Fighter champion. Obviously, there's a new division, the strawweights. Now, I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts on the show, and what are your thoughts on the new women's weight class?
Partner, I haven't seen it. I'd like to lie to you and tell you how excited I am, how great it is, but I haven't seen it, don't know anything about it.
Well, at least you're honest. We appreciate that.
Absolutely, Don. Last time we spoke to you, you weren't the biggest fan of women's MMA. Has anything changed? Have you had a change of heart at all? Have you seen a fight that sort of made you change your mind just yet?
No, I have not seen it. I've seen it. Actually, okay, that's a lie. I'm sorry. That's a lie. I've seen a couple of fights where the women have fought better than the guys on the card, and then the whole rest of the card. All them guys will strut around claiming to be fighters. They should be ashamed because the one woman fight on the card outshined the whole card of boys. It made them look like boys. It's an embarrassment.
Well, that's high praise to the ladies from Don Frye. One thing that we've missed seeing you in was, of course, Predator's predictions. You haven't done one since UFC 175, and we, along with the fans, have missed seeing predictions with a touch of mustache and whiskey. What's going on? Why haven't we seen any predictions in so long?
Well, have you seen a fight that's worth predicting?
Well, there's some big ones coming up. Have you not been impressed?
When's the last time they put on a decent card? I mean, I was hoping Bellator would do it, but that fight between Tito and
Stephan Bonnar.
Jeez, I can't. Stephan Bonnar. I like Stephan. I really like Stephan. I did a movie with him. We did a stunt scene in the movie Salt, and it got completely edited out of the movie, But Stephan's a great guy. But that whole fight was just a turd, Neither one of them should have gotten paid, It was an embarrassment. the sport and is embarrassment to all manhood.
Wow. Well,
Yeah, well, Don, you mentioned that there weren't any big fights happening that were worth predicting. We've got a few fights that we'd like your predictions on happening in 2015. The first being Jon Jones versus Daniel Cormier. A lot of manliness in that fight. Obviously, the build-up has been pretty manly as well. What are your thoughts? Who's coming out the champion in that one?
I'll tell you what, the build-up's been pretty decent, man. These two boys have been bringing it, It's been a lot of fun and a lot of entertaining. But I think, Jones is a bit off more than I think it should. He's been bragging, and, it happens to us all. It happened to me. It happened to Mark Coleman. It happened to Kerr. It happened to Fedor. After a while, so many wins, you get bored, and you stop training so hard. And, you start trying to phone it in. And, you realize, hey, some of these guys, they don't own the phone, shit. And then you can't phone it. They're not impressed with your press clipping because they can't read, And you get your butt kicked. And I think John's at that level where he's just bored with it. He's overimpressed himself. And Daniel's got a heck of a resume. He's a heck of an athlete, I think he's the, besides Dan Severn, I think he's the best wrestler who's came into the sport, and he's not afraid of getting hit. And so I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think this is going to be the fight of the decade.
Wow, fight of the decade. See, this is what we missed. This is why you need to make some new Predators predictions. We've got a couple more for you. We've got Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. Who do you think's going to win this one?
I want to go with Nick Diaz. I like Anderson Silva. I respect him. Back when we were fighting, we fought on 4, 5, 6 cards together back there in Pride.
Yeah.
And he was always a gentleman, had much respect, very polite. We were in the locker room, and my wife was in the locker room with us a little bit too long, I like to keep her in there, make sure she's safe. And then after a while, I send her out, go get her seat so I could change the channel, switch my mind. And, Anderson came in and he took his shower and he covered himself completely, while he walked by. Me, I don't have any class at all. If there's a woman in the locker room and she shouldn't be there, I'd have slung it at her, say, hey, this is where men belong here, women don't, But Anderson has so much more class than I do. It's unbelievable. And, but the unfortunate thing, that's a hell of an injury to come back for anybody. Anderson's one of the greatest fighters of all time. But Nick Diaz is one of the toughest fighters of all time. There's a difference. Nick's, he's a scrapper. He's a fighter, It's not any kind of beauty. It's like Beauty and the Beast between these two, because Anderson's a beauty and Nick's a beast when it comes to fighting. Anderson's all technique, speed and style, and Nick just comes to fight, man,
The last prediction we'd like to get from you is Chris Weidman versus Vitor Belfort. Now, this one's been brewing for a while. We had a chance to hang out with Chris in Australia and have a chat about this one. He's very confident going into this one. Do you think Chris walks out the champion against Vitor?
Of course. I think Vitor needs to go back in for another gynecomastia operation, He got caught once again, and things aren't nothing in his favor. And Chris is here to stay for, he's gonna run the gauntlet for about 3 more years.
Interesting. Yeah, it's crazy how Chris went from underdog against Anderson to now, more or less greatest of all time. Now, another thing we wanted to
Yeah, everybody's riding the coattail right now, aren't they?
It's crazy, huh?
Who the hell? Who's he fighting? What's his name?
Who? Chris Weidman?
Who's Weidman fighting?
Vitor Belfort.
Vitor Belfort.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I went for a ride today, and I had a fall off my horse. He didn't throw me. I just we took a bad turn, and so I got a bit of a headache. But Vitor is like a cat, you know. He got more than 9 lives, you know. Every time you think he's gone, he comes back. So, you know, but he's just not at the top of his game. He's not who he was back in '96, '97. You know, we all get old and we all lose a step. Unfortunately, you know, he's lost several, and you can't afford to lose half a step against somebody like Weidman. You know, and like you said, I hate to crawl up Weidman's butt like everybody else, but you know, the kid's got it going. He got the wrestling pedigree, and he can throw fists. You know,
absolutely.
And we obviously he's got the toughest shins in the world too. You know.
Yeah, no kidding. It must be what Wolverine's made out of, adamantium. Now, you know, you mentioned a wrestling pedigree. Now, speaking of wrestling, a different kind of wrestling, you know, CM Punk's a guy who recently signed with the UFC. Now, he doesn't have a wrestling pedigree. He's got more of a pro wrestling pedigree. I'm just wondering, what do you make of this, Don Frye? What do you think about, you know, him coming in? Do you think it's smart bringing him in, and do you think he'll make it in the octagon?
I thought he already pulled out.
No, he signed a contract and he's officially in the UFC as we speak. They're looking to figure out a fight for him in 2015. Someone with a 1-0 record.
Oh, I thought he pulled out like 4 hours after he signed the contract.
No.
I thought maybe the common sense fairy come by and, you know, tapped him on the shoulder, you know, said, "Hey, dumbass, you know, this isn't WWE. I mean, goddamn, who's that big blonde fairy who has the belt for the WWE? From North Dakota or South Dakota or one of them, East Dakota or the Minnesota, that Viking.
Brock Lesnar?
What's his name? Yeah, Lesnar. Yeah, Lesnar. Yeah, you know, he found out real fast. He's supposed to be God's, you know, answer to Satan, you know, or Satan's answer to Christ, you know, and he found out real fast that's not the place to be. He got hit, and man, it changed his. You know, he want to go back to go to work at McDonald's.
Well, you know, speaking of CM Punk, from a professional standpoint, as someone who's been in the sport for a really long time, a guy like CM Punk who has no real training apart from some basic grappling, do you think he could actually, you know, get to a level of a UFC fighter in a number of months to fight in the organization? No, I think it's a pipe dream. You know, it's a pipe dream. Back when this thing first started out, you know, everybody likes to compare the difference, you know, and everybody, when they first started out, everybody was a world champion, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times world champions of whatever style they were, you know, or, you know, 10-time national champ. But, you know, they'd all been doing it for, you know, 10, 15, 20 years. And, you know, somebody just can't sit there watching the show on the couch eating Fritos and say, "Hey, I think I can do this." No, you're an idiot. You're gonna get hurt. And you deserve to get hurt for thinking that way.
Yeah, when we eat Fritos on the couch, we definitely don't think that we could do it. Now, there's something that we want to talk to you about, Don. It's a story involving you in Pride that we heard from Renzo Gracie and Buster Rudin. But before we go to that, just one thing on the UFC. You know, a few of the guys recently, Kung Lee, Nate Quarry, and John Fitch, there's a lawsuit coming against the UFC. I'm just wondering, have you heard much about it? And what are your thoughts? Apparently, it's going to be like $100 million lawsuit with, you know, big law firms involved. What do you make of all this?
I don't think I know about what I read on the internet like everybody else. And, you know, I think once these guys get a check wiggled in front of them, they're going to bounce out, they're going to take their check, and they're going to run, you know. It's not going to last. I mean, let's face it, UFC can litigate you until your great-grandchildren die of old age, you know. And there's no law firm's going to take something like that, you know, on a percentage basis. And once the UFC tells these guys, "Hey, I'll give you $500,000 or $1 million to walk away," these guys are going to take it and go buy themselves a boat and be gone.
Well, I mean, from everything that, like, you know, Kung Lee and these guys have said, they said that they're doing it for the fighters. They want to make a change. Apparently, I don't know much about law, but apparently these law firms are really, you know, big, top of the line, and the UFC won't be able to, you know, outspend them. Do you think there's any merit to what these guys are suing for? What they're suing for is basically that the UFC is a monopoly and, you know, unfair treatment of fighters and things like that.
You know what? Whenever I hear somebody say I'm doing it for the fighters, I'm doing it for the other athletes, I'm doing it for everybody else, I'm doing it for the little guy, I wipe my ass with that comment. You know, that they just, as soon as they get money, they're going to go.
And, you know, just from, you know, your thoughts, because we've had a lot of people sort of chime in on the subject, do you think that, you know, fighter pay is enough as we speak in MMA? You know, obviously the sport's evolved a lot since you fought, and it was obviously a lot less when you fought. Do you think these guys are getting compensated enough for what they do in the octagon or in the Bellator ring or around the world?
All right. Let's go back to that Stephan Bonnar Tito Ortiz fight. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they earn their paycheck?
Well, we're a couple of guys on the radio, so we're not going to say that they didn't earn their paycheck. You know what I mean?
But, you know, just
no, because you know they got overpaid. Whatever they got paid, it was more than what they deserved. And like I said earlier, to answer your question, the reason we haven't done a Predators predictions is because we haven't seen a fight worth predicting. You know, no, there's nobody else. These guys are getting paid what they're worth. You know, there's nobody out there of any value that, you know, I would spend $50 or $60 to watch.
All right, fair enough. Well, look, let's go to this Bas story. We had Bas on the show recently. We had Renzo Gracie. They told this story about you and Pride. It was involving you and Dennis Hallman. Paul Bas Rudin got head kicked and knocked to the ground. We're just wondering, what happened? What happened in this crazy altercation between you and Dennis Hallman in Pride? How did it start?
No, it was in the IFC. It's in Connecticut. Let me tell you something. Dennis Hallman, I would take Dennis Hallman and charge hell with a bucket of water with Dennis Hallman. All right? Dennis Hallman is one of the very few guys got a set of balls on him. Okay? Everybody else just likes to talk, but Dennis will step up to it. You know? I would trust him. I would trust him all day long. You know? I walked back. I was drinking. He was drinking. He made a comment, and I was an asshole. And things escalated. Okay, so the bottom line is you got two drunken assholes going at it. The IFL had both teams, or four teams, 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams at the same hotel. It's stupid, you know. The NBA is even smart enough not to keep the opposing teams at the same hotel. You know, these idiots had fighters, you know, or wannabe fighters at the same hotel. That's just a recipe for trouble, and that's what happened.
Now, Don, you know, what we like to do with you on the show, like last time, is do a submission radio tap-out round. Basically, we throw some fun questions at you, and you answer with the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
All right, fire away.
Okay. Don, what's the perfect Christmas present for Don Frye?
Ooh, man. A blonde and high stilettos and garters and stockings and you know, I didn't hold beer for me, of course. You know, I don't care whether she's thirsty or not makes no difference. You know, just as long as she's hot and ready for me, boy. I mean, that's, you know, that's for the whole weekend. That's my present.
Now, let's say the listeners are taking a girl out. What's a piece of dating advice that Don Frye can give?
Well, you know what? If you know she's gonna put out, pay for it. But if you know there's no chance in her putting out, make her pay for the half the meal at least. Not the whole, if not half, at least all of it. You know, crime it. There's no sense in paying for these women if they're not gonna, you know, pitch in.
Very smart.
Now, if you could play anybody in any role, who would you play and why?
I'd play John Wayne. You know, I mean, try with me. Who wouldn't want to play John Wayne? Try with me. He's one of the greatest Americans to walk the planet. You know, I mean, God bless him. He's a flag waver of the United States of America, the greatest planet God ever, or greatest country God ever created. And, he deserves to be represented properly, and I would like the opportunity to do it.
Well, here's a question, Don. If you had to choose between doing a movie with Robert De Niro and Al Pacino or starring in a movie directed by Clint Eastwood, which one would you choose?
I go with Eastwood. Eastwood.
Now let's switch the tables a little bit. Let's switch the positions. In a movie about your life, Don, who would play you? Who would you like to see play you in a movie about your life?
Homer Simpson.
But Homer doesn't have a mustache.
Yeah, but they can scribble it in real fast. It wouldn't take long. They can look manly.
Yeah, that's true. Well, here's a question, Don. Is Don Frye a Seinfeld fan?
What's that?
Is Don Frye a Seinfeld fan? Do you watch the show Seinfeld? Are you a fan?
Partner, I've never seen it. I got to watch bits and pieces, here and there in the hotel room, and I laughed when it was on. But I'm a country boy. Big city in New York really had no interest in me. But when I did see it, I laughed. I thought it was very funny, very well learned.
Now, Don, here's an interesting one for you. As a country boy, do you believe that Santa Claus would look better with a mustache?
Of course, man. Everything looks better with a mustache, except for one.
Yeah. Now, for some of the hipster skinny jean wearing metrosexuals listening right now, what's Don Frye's #1 secret to being a man?
One, I'm not metrosexual. One, I don't wear skinny jeans. One, I don't drink hot tea with my pinky extended. Yeah. I drink black coffee and I wipe my mouth with the back of my hand, and I'm not afraid to smack a woman on the ass.
Giddy up smack.
Now, let the listeners know, Don, the listeners that are listening around Australia and around the world, what's a Don Frye Christmas consist of? How do you celebrate the holiday?
Partner, we get up, and I have coffee, I watch the girls tear through all their presents. I have another cup of coffee with bourbon in it this time, and then I have another cup of coffee with more bourbon than coffee. And then we have a bite to eat, and we go hop on the horse, go for a ride, and we come back and we have bourbon, and then we have lunch, and we appreciate, Jesus Christ is our Savior for dying for our sins and, giving this day for us, and we appreciate every soldier and Marine and Navy and Airman who sacrificed their life, for us to enjoy this day. And, we don't forget the people who have died, so that we can celebrate life not only this day, but every day.
Absolutely. And finally, Don, when people look back on your MMA career, which fight do you want them to remember the most?
Partner, I've been real lucky. I've had a lot of good opponents, Amari Batesh, in UFC 9 was great. Brian Johnson in UFC 10. Mark Coleman in UFC 10. Even though he almost killed me, Big Daddy Good against Gary Goodridge, in the Ultimate 2, and then Tank Abbott, Ultimate 2, and then Ken Shamrock, and Gilbert Ivel. That was a great fight, and
that was a crazy fight.
Yeah, it was great because I've been away for 4 years doing pro wrestling, and he came. I came back, and he said, "Hey, boy, this is what it's all about. welcome back to pro sports. This is how much fighting has changed." Damn, I wanted to cry myself to sleep that night. Jeez, that was a heck of a fight that guy gave me.
Well, there's a lot of awesome fights. We can't wait to, can't wait for the UFC Fight Pass to get out of Don Frye Photography so we can check them all out. Don, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. We feel like we grow a little bit manly every time you come on. Guys, don't forget to check out Don Frye's Twitter at DonFryeFighter or DonFrye.com. Again, you're welcome anytime, Don.
Yeah, that Takayama-san, that was one of my great fights, I mean, I've been lucky. I've had some good opponents, Well, guys, thanks for having me. Thanks for helping me with my memory. That doggone horse, he hit a tree today, so I wasn't paying attention. We gotta watch some horses. They'll ring you, try and rub you off with a tree or a barn or something.
Is this the mean one that you're talking about? The mean one that doesn't like people?
Oh, no. When's the last time we talked about him?
It was a while. It was like a good 5-6 months ago.
Oh, yeah, that'd be him.
Well,
that'd be him.
Well, not even a horse can take Don Frye out. Don, you have a really good holiday season, a great Christmas with your family, and a really good New Year, and we'll get you back on the show in 2015 and catch up once again.
Hey, guys, you all have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and God bless you all and the guys who took down that idiot down there in Sydney. That was the way that men handle, a terrorist situation. God bless you. Thank you. You did a great job, guys.